welcome to my channel. My name is Lisa Alistway, and I create a variety of inspirational and informational videos you can use and apply to your life. Today, it is my honor to introduce my friend and my guest, Skip Gonzalez. I have known Skip as a SWT, Southwest Texas State graduate student, formerly known as SWT, but it's now Texas State. And today, Skip is going to talk to us about how and why he became a foster parent. He currently lives in Austin, Texas with his wife, and he has 4 children, all from the foster system, which we will get into. And yeah, anything else you would like to add to that bio?
No, Lisa. I mean, it's nothing special. I'm just a regular guy, just trying to do what best we can for our kids,
Yes, awesome. Well, I think you are amazing, and it's heroic what you are doing fostering these children. So let's get right into it. Why did you want to become a foster parent?
Well, I had never thought about it before. It was just my wife Rosanna. We were married in 2013, and we had been trying to have our own children for a couple of years already, and we got to a point where we had bought a new house, 2-story. We're not even using the upstairs because it's just us, And so one day she's like, "Hey, what do you think about fostering or adopting children?" I said, "Yes, but I want a sibling group." And she says, "Okay, but I want a baby." I said, "Let's do it."
Wow.
And just like that, started looking. Well, then we're like, okay, what do we do? Okay.
Right. That's the big question. How do you make this happen?
Where do you start? Exactly. So, just started Googling and how to become a foster parent, and ended up looking for an agency. Okay. And one of the things that I did is I called about 3 or 4 here in Austin, in the Austin area. I think I even got one in Houston, but I called them and just kind of asked them like, "Hey, how does the process work?" Just to get a general vibe. One place didn't even call me back. We went to go, and I'd like to say we interview the agencies, and I tell that to prospective foster parents. I'm in a foster parent group on Facebook also, and that's the first thing I always say when they ask for recommendations. I go, you know what? It doesn't matter what I say, what he says, what she says. You still need a good vibe from the agency. So interview them. They don't need, you don't need them. They need you, right?
Right.
So go talk to as many as you can and get a good vibe. We went to one place out here in Austin, and it was just large. It just felt like it was a corporation. It was just a big group. We ended up going with at the time, a small agency in 2016, I believe, is when we started the process. It was just a little agency, one office here in Austin. They're called Lone Star Social Services. And I got their information from, I play a game on the phone that has a big social structure. And so this guy, hey, one of my friends from the synagogue has a foster agency, give him a call. We did. The owner, Dr. James Mercer, he came into our home, and we just had a meeting here. He came to us and said, "This is what we do. This is how you do it," explained to us the process. And we were like, wow, this is great, like a personal touch, Little did I know we were like one of his first families,
Yeah.
To get started. So they have now since expanded, and they cover several regions in Texas.
Okay.
Like I'm in region 7, which is Travis County, and about 2 or 3 counties that expand out. San Antonio is a different region. Houston's a different region. Northeast Texas, Panhandle, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told my wife, I go, let's do this. And so, man, they give you a stack of papers, Lisa, that it's like, it's like you think it's never going to end. The amount of paperwork we had to do to submit in order to be approved to be a foster home. Okay. Yep. And so, we went with this agency, and and that's where we started, and they helped us all the way. They're great. They're very supportive, and we are, and here we are. We're about to finalize our fourth child, like I said, and then
Wow.
probably finish our journey here.
Wow. So let's talk about the eligibility. What
Yes.
qualifies and what disqualifies you from being a foster parent?
Well, it's not a whole lot to be eligible. You don't even have to. You just have to be an adult, right?
18?
18 minimum. I've heard of some 18-year-olds that have maybe taken in some siblings or kinship. Okay, there's two different types. There's kinship, foster care, and non-kinship, right? So kinship would be like a cousin or a second cousin or a second cousin's wife, right? And when they remove it, well, let's go back to the eligibility. Yes, 18 years old. You need to have show you've got a safe home, stable environment. Something that would disqualify you would be like a criminal record, right? Drug or criminal background. You got to pass the FBI background check.
Yep.
You need to have references you need to have references from personal, family and non-family.
You have to have two parents to qualify. So single parent. Okay.
Single parent, single adult, right? And it doesn't really even matter what your status is, immigration status or legal, not illegal, permanent resident, right? That doesn't matter as long as you pass the background, right?
In any age, you can be 95 years old.
You can be 95 if you want to try. It depends, but there's obviously a wide range of children that need, from newborn to 17-year-old, and some children stay in foster care to about 21 on certain circumstances. But it's also, you have to want to do this because it's not. I shouldn't say it's not for everyone. I think it is for everyone. I don't understand why more people don't do it. It's just a matter of like thinking like, yes, this is what we can do. Let's do it. We didn't know anything about it. We hadn't thought about any what could come of it, what could not come of it. We just said, let's just do it, right? And we just kind of jumped in and started swimming. Another eligibility thing, another main thing is you cannot have more than 6 children in your home. Okay, you cannot have more than 6 children in your home, and you need to have enough room living. That was one of the first questions they asked me when I called. They're like, hey, I'd like to ask, how do I become a foster parent? They're like, well, how many rooms do you have in your house, and how big are they? I was like, that's the weirdest question. Well, it turns out the minimum standards say that a child needs at least 40 square feet in a bedroom, right? And it has to be a bedroom. You can't have them in an open space, in a closet, in a hallway. I mean, they have to be in a bedroom. I mean, they're still human beings, right? And so that's what the minimum standard. So once I measured out my rooms, we had 120 square feet and 144 square feet. So we were able to have up to 3 children in a room, and still be in compliance, right? Also, one of the things they'll do is the genders of the children. You can't mix genders if they're foster children. The genders need to be in the same rooms. So, if a person has a 1-bedroom apartment, you could have up to a 3-year-old in the room with you. Okay. But once they get past 3, they need to be in their own rooms. So size of the home, financial stability, you need to be able to take care of the children, right? There is a reimbursement, and we can get into that, but that's not how, okay, well, if I get this child, I'm gonna get this money and I can care for them, but I can't care them without that money, right? So you have to have some kind of financial stability.
You have to show employment.
Sure. Yeah, just tax payment stubs and stuff, but they're not marking say, oh, you got to have this X amount of dollars, but there are some numbers that they have to say, well, they can look at all your financials and say, yeah, you can afford to take on a child.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, right? You know, it depends.
Do you have to take any type of psychological or mental assessment?
No, but you know what? That's not a bad idea.
You know, I was just wondering that.
No, I mean, I think anything. No, because there are people that are foster parents that are on uh, may have some psychotropic drug for medications or something like
Yeah.
that, you know.
Yeah.
But no, we didn't have to. We didn't have to test.
There was
Now
no
that I think,
written test, but maybe
now
through
that I
the,
think about it, no, I didn't. No, we did
but
not have
maybe
to
through
take a
the
psych
interview
test.
process, they
Yeah, they
know
get
what
a
to
good
look for.
idea. Absolutely. Well, then what they do, and then once you compile all your paperwork, background check, fingerprints, all of this is done, then comes the home study.
Real quick, let me
Okay.
ask you one question.
Sure.
How much have you paid for application fees so far before that home study comes? So it doesn't cost you anything to apply, submit the paperwork. The background checks are paid for by the agency.
I would say the only thing out of pocket I paid for, let's see, the whole process to get license through the agency does not cost anything. You will have to have a health inspection by the county, I believe. Well, here in Austin, when we did it, if I lived in the city limits of Austin, it would have cost me like $45, something like that. But since I was in the county of Travis County, it didn't cost anything. So they just come in and they just did a walkthrough to make, there's no roaches, there's no holes in the wall or nothing like that, that it's a safe environment and clean. But I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that like everything has to be spotless from now on. No. It's just, they're going to come in. It's not a drug bin, right? There's not needles, stuff like that, right?
Right.
So that cost money a little bit. Another amount of money I had to pay for was we had to have a fire inspection. And at some point I was contacting the fire department to come in. And apparently I found out later that what I really needed was the furnace, the AC unit furnace inspected. Basically a plumber could come over or HVAC guy. Yep, looks good. Here it is. I inspected it. It's working properly, right? So that was taken care of. And then the agency completed the rest of the fire inspection, like, got to have a fire extinguishers, right? So I've got a fire extinguisher downstairs, a fire extinguisher upstairs. They have to be yearly inspected, right? Yearly inspected, got to be tagged. And even that kind of cost can be offset because my agency actually provides us the fire extinguishers. In the first few years, we were going through a company at a Cedar Park, I forget their name, but they were providing fire extinguishers for foster parents for free.
Okay.
They would ask you questions, how big your house, blah, 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 and say, okay, you need one, we'll even take it, here it is. Sometimes it might be a $25 inspection fee if you can't find it, right? And I guess the last fee I would have paid is have to have CPR first aid certified. So that's
overall, the cost to the potential foster parent is very minimal.
Very minimal to get the license. Yes.
Okay. So we've talked about eligibility. Make sure that you are eligible. Make sure you don't have any of those disqualifiers. And then the cost is minimal. So let's talk about the next step.
Well, then once all of that was done, then we went to the home study. Okay. And the home study is where they come in and you're a professor. So, and we were in grad school, we've done reports, right? So it's kind of like a report they do on us. So they have already a lot of information from us. So they start compiling what I like to call it. This is like your CPS home resume. This is my family resume for CPS, right? And so what they'll do is the person comes in and they'll interview us. Oh, I think it lasted about 4 hours. They talked to both of us, asked a lot of personal questions, many questions, right? And then they interviewed us individually, right? And then we got back together again and went over some more questions. And then what she's doing is that particular person was she was taking notes. She already kind of had a skeleton of a report, right? And it was filling in some blanks that she wanted to get some more details on and get an idea. And once that is done, then it goes into like peer review, right? So then it goes to a supervisor. The supervisor looks it over and says, okay, hey, we need some more clarification on this, because they're trying to polish it up for us for CPS.
Okay.
For a caseworker to look over. And then then it gets approved, right? And I asked the home study lady, I go, hey, so what might cause someone to fail a home study? Because when people start the process, it kind of freaks them out. Oh my God, what are they going to ask? What are they going to ask? And I always tell the people, I go, look, they're just be honest, relax. They want to help you. They're trying to help you look good, right? And so she said that sometimes they have been given references from a family member, and a family member will go, oh yeah, no, that's a bad idea. No, they're, they do this, they do that, or whatever, they give a bad reference, and they'll be like, oh yeah, no, this isn't a good idea. Or also in the process of interviewing, sometimes a couple, right? Just married couple. In fact, you don't even have to be married. As long as you had like a domestic relationship, right? In the process of interviewing, one partner might go, yeah, I'm just doing it because, hey, I'm 100% supportive of my wife. Yeah, I'm going to support her. Yeah, this is what she wants to do. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, hey, whatever. Yeah.
She'll take care of it all.
They get an idea that, oh, hey, this is a 100% commitment of the household.
Yeah.
This isn't where one person is going to take it on. It's not like that, right? So if they get the vibe that one family member is really not into it, that may not work well, because it is stressful. There's a lot of things that can happen, go on, and it needs to be unified as a team. There are many foster parents that do it that are single. In fact, I have two of my friends that I recommended. Two of my friends that I have several friends that have hit me up personally, right? Two of them are one of them is foster caring and about to adopt. Another one has just, I think, is in the middle of a process. Also, she's a single mom, and a few other people. So it just takes a lot of effort for one person, right?
Yeah.
Another thing that they do because of that is another eligibility thing I forgot to mention is the age of the children. Okay. There's a particular rule that I believe says you can't have more than 3 children under the age of 2, or 2 children there's a certain, for babies, they don't want you to have 6 newborns because they know that's just too much, right? Even for a husband and wife or a couple. So there are certain rules of limitations based upon young children under a certain age, So they get the resume ready to go, the home study, and once it's approved, then like we just wait, we get on the list.
What is the timeline in all of this? I'm wondering how many months does this take
to get licensed?
Like the whole process.
All of that for us, we had about a 6-month break because my mother-in-law was living with us, and so in order to simplify the process, we said, let's just put it on pause until she leaves, because if not, then she's going to have to get in the process, and she was going to be leaving. She was going to be going back, and so it was a little bit after she left. Dr. Mercer, the owner, the director of the agency, called me. Hey, are you still going to do this? And I was like, oh my God, are you calling me to kick me in the butt to get the process going again? He's like, no. I go, yes, you are. That's okay. We're on it. We got back on it. So it's really as fast as you can compile the information they're requesting.
Oh, it could happen in a matter of a couple months.
It could happen a few months. It could happen in a few months, depending on how quickly you can gather all the data they request, all the forms, fill them in, and everything. So, it's just what it is, However, but once you get licensed, okay, then it's like the wait, right? So we got our license, and we are choosing to. Well, I guess I need to define foster.
Real quick, on the license.
Yeah.
Is that something you don't have to take a test for this license? It's just this whole interview process, and then you have to get it renewed every year and
No. Once
no,
you're licensed, the
it's
agency
lifetime.
until you choose not to, or they find you not compliance with the rules, and maybe
Okay.
they take the license away. But
Okay.
it's not like the agency just cuts you loose. No. They come monthly. We get visits monthly from the agency
Right.
that will continue to go through the home and check. Do the children's beds have a waterproof cover over the mattress, right?
Mhm.
Are there beds where they're supposed to be, or just they just come in and kind of just
Is it the same
is it baby
person?
proofed? Yeah, no, it depends on the agency, because there can be turnaround,
Yeah. Okay.
but monthly they do inspect the home monthly. Sometimes
Until
it's
they are 18 and out
until
of the house.
they're 18 out of the house or out of foster care. Like for us, since we're about to adopt our fourth baby, um, I think we will probably have the adoption done by um, August, September, maybe September latest, you know? And so then we're gonna close the home. But even when our first foster placement, I don't know, you probably ever saw him on my social media, little man, right?
Yep.
After a year and a half, he was returned, right? And so we decided to, and we had already adopted the siblings, the three siblings. So I said, let's put a pause. Let's put a pause on getting any phone calls. So we got ourselves taken off of like the emergency placement list for about 8 months, and then we decided to reopen the home. And okay, put us back in the queue, put us back in the batting order, And so
Because were you in the process of adopting Lil Man?
no, little
Okay.
we ended up it got to where the mother did what she needed to do, her services, and we can talk about what it is to foster versus adopt and all that in a bit. But
Okay.
no, he did everything. I would tell the mother, I had a great personal relationship with her, where I would tell her, I go, look, you're court ordered to do certain services. Your child has been removed. It's not easy, right? So I want you to know that I am taking care of your child until you're ready. Until
Okay.
you're ready and everything is done. He's in a safe place. Don't worry about that. You focus on everything else. And she did. The case was extended, which is typical. An additional 6 months. Typically, it's 1 year. The case, and then he went home, and so we're still in contact with him. We still see him. So yeah. So it's great.
With regards to the application process, anything else to add to it? I know they do the home visits.
They
Is that pretty much it?
Several people will visit, not just the agency. The agency is in charge of our license, right?
Okay.
They're contracted by the state of Texas to say, hey, I am putting my name, the agency's name, to tell you reputation that this home is in compliance. We check them. Okay, so they are in compliance, right? The CPS caseworkers, they also come by to visit the children monthly. And for them, they are in the CPS case with the judge, that ongoing case, right? Our agency caseworker won't necessarily go to the court hearings because they don't have a standing, right? They're not involved in that.
Okay.
A child may have a CASA, a volunteer, child advocacy center. Also, there might be, each child will also have their own attorney. Children will have their own attorney.
Okay.
They may or may not visit. We had a little man had a fantastic attorney who would come monthly and visits and call, and because I'm advocating for my child, for my client. He was 4, right? I'm going to advocate for him. So it was great. The siblings had also a great ad litem, but the preschooler / toddler, right, that we have now, I never heard from that attorney. Never saw him. Never heard anything. Nothing.
Okay.
But it just depends.
So let's talk a little bit about the selection process, and also what types of kids are being fostered, and how did you choose this one over that one, and how did you go about doing that process?
It was just like, Jesus, take the wheel, Okay, so when you get licensed, you can do it one of two ways. You can be adoption only, okay, or foster parent to adopt, okay. All right, so that's kind of there are some people that are like, I only want to adopt a child, okay? So the way this works is when a child is removed from a home, okay, for whatever reason, whatever abuse is out there, right? There's what as a professor or as a teacher, or there's other professions that are mandated by law. Daycare workers, if they suspect or abuse, they have to report it. They call the 800 line. That gets investigated. That gets the ball going. Okay.
Yep.
And so when a child is removed, the first thing they want to do is find a family member. They want to find a family member to put the child back with the family, right? Well, you can't be with this family member. Let's try to find a sister, an aunt, an uncle, a grandmother, the parent. You know, let's try to find them. In my particular case, a little man, when he was removed, they went to the father, and he was living at this home with another guy, and they said, okay, you can get your child, but you know your roommate's going to have to get a CPS background check. And the guy's like, nope, get out. He kicked them out of the house. So now the father doesn't have a home. So they're like, well, you know, we can't wait. And so that's where we ended up getting called. So that's where they would find a foster home, an emergency placement, right? And so once they can't find a family, then we don't want the kids sleeping in the office, in the CPS office. That happens, right? That's a whole other thing. But so they reach out they send out an email blast to all the agencies. Hey, we've got this child. We need a home in this region, this area. And so we got called and said, hey, and basically said, the agency called, we got a 4-year-old boy, Hispanic, basic care, basic level. What do you think? And we're like,
sight unseen. It's
sight
just
unseen. Yeah, no, because there's no time for that, right? So you get as much information as you can. It's a little hard on
you get age, you get history, a little bit of their history,
small history of what they might know, because sometimes the child may already have a previous CPS cases, that parent, right? So there might be a little bit of knowledge already towards that. You know,
so there's a lot more kids out there than there is homes. Yes,
unfortunately, you know, but that number, I believe I saw some statistic, maybe 2019 or something, where they were actually in Travis County, they were actually able to have more kids. They weren't as many kids sleeping in the office, I guess. They were able to find more homes,
that's good,
you know, for the children than previous years. And so man, now that I think about it, it was Travis County, so there was less numbers. So once a child is removed, the CPS says, we're going to have a plan. This is our plan. Our plan is reunification with the family. Duh, right? You want the child back with the family. That's the first plan. Okay. Well, what happens is they go to a court hearing, and the judge basically will tell the parents, or well, CPS would advocate, and each parent has their attorneys. There's the guardian ad litem, the child's attorneys, right? CPS, everyone's there. So the judge, everyone presents a case, and the judge says, well, in order for you to get to the child, then you need to take parenting classes. You need to take be drug tested regularly, like weekly, right? All these, the service plan is what it's called. And so that they must complete the service plan.
Let me ask you a question on the service plan, because it sounds like a lot of these kids have been abused and been through some type of trauma.
Sure.
Do these foster parents get some training to deal with trauma?
Oh, yes. That was part of the licensing, getting our license. There's hours of training, you know, that we do at the beginning. We went to 2 8-hour sessions on a weekend, not to mention the multitude of psychotropic medication trainings, sexual abuse training, how to report abuse, seat belts, safety water, you know, all kinds of, but this has to be also renewed monthly. So usually every month I have some kind of training to do.
Yeah, especially I can imagine, you know, because that trauma can last long term, and it's not something that you're going to fix in a week or a month.
No. And the trauma could be, you know, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, physical. It could be a multitude of things, right? And so part of the, so that's how the child is removed, right? So, but the CPS, it's still going to be a reunification with the parent.
Okay.
I don't want to say regardless of why they were removed, but that's just the first plan. That's just the first, this is the course. Secondary, usually the secondary plan is non-kinship adoption, right? Non-kinship. So that's like secondary, but we gotta, look, removing a child and terminating parental rights, that's a serious thing. This is a lifelong decision. They don't take it lightly, right? So, you know, they want to give the parent all the chances the parent can have in order to get the child back, to prove to the judge, I've changed my ways. Look at the improvements we've done. You know, I can get my child back. You know, sometimes some parents perform right off the get-go. Sometimes they lag, and then they at the end they speed up, you know, and finish what they need to do. And other times they just don't do it. They just don't do it. They don't even go to court hearings. You know, they don't do anything. So so it's about a year long, and a judge will usually have a hearing about every 3 months, okay, to get an update, and then whatever motions the attorneys put in, blah blah blah, you know. And so that's when you do that until you get to the final hearing, and then the CP by about 6 months, 8 months, the CPS already knows kind of like, yeah, this is going to go to termination. We're going to terminate the parental rights. That's what we're going to recommend. You know, or no, the parent's doing great. You know, we're going to recommend reunification. You know, so so that process, so that's kind of where the process kind of splits up. So if everything is done right, the child is returned to the home. Now, the parents are not off the hook, right? So they still are under CPS inspection or monitoring, CPS caseworker for another 6 months. It's called a monitored return. So the child will go back to the home, and CPS is still had to make sure the home is safe, it's livable, you know, there's not garbage everywhere, right? They have the roof, they have, you know, they have jobs. You got to have a job, right? You got to support your child. Now, being poor is not a reason for a child to be removed. Okay, that's not a thing. There's other things involved, right? So once the parents does everything after 6 months, and they're like, case closed, we're done, we're out. Okay. Then if a child is kind of, well, it's going to be, we're going to recommend termination of the rights. So what CPS will do, they ask the foster parent, hey, this is where we're going to go. What are your thoughts? You've had the child for X amount of months, X amount of time. Would you like to adopt the child? The foster parents would get first dibs, right? It's just, people have to think hard as to what their answer is going to be. Sometimes it's an emphatic, heck yeah, we're adopting, or you know what, we're gonna choose not to adopt. That's how we got our sibling group. We choose not to adopt. We choose to continue to foster care, or whatever. You can say no. Okay, it's however reason, if it's not right, and there's a lot of things going on. So then CPS is going to start looking for an adoptive placement. Okay, we're going to find a home that wants to adopt the children. That's what happened with our children. The previous foster parents had them for about 7 months, and once those parents were not doing anything, they weren't completing nothing, failing drug tests, not showing up for drug tests. So the ad litem was like, yeah, we're going to go termination. So let's find a home. Let's find a home. And so that's how our name got put in there, and they were put into our home after being interviewed by their caseworker and their attorney. So that would be called a legal risk placement. Okay, legal risk. They're still a foster child. They're not free for adoption. So that status is still reunification. Okay, it just means that it's likely will be terminated, but you never know. You never know what could happen. Another family member could come in and submit a home study, and or they found somebody, you know. So therefore, you are taking a risk to take this child as an adoptive placement. Okay, so nothing is set in stone until the parental rights have been terminated. Okay, then that becomes an adoptive placement. Okay, and then even then, there's a transition of foster caseworker to adoption caseworker. That's where we are. That's where we are at. We have a caseworker who only deals with adoptions. Okay.
Mhm.
And so there you would do that. Another type of foster placement would be not necessarily an emergency placement or a legal risk, but it would be kind of like the foster placement was not working at another home. All right. For whatever reason, something, maybe the family thought there was a danger to their family from this child, or abuse, the child was abusive or to their children, or just there's multitude of reasons it's not working
Yeah.
out, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe, you know, there's just a lot of stuff. So then that child would be moved to another foster home. That's where our smallest, our youngest, that's what happened to him. He was removed from a home. He was removed from the home. Actually, when he was removed when he was born, due to him testing positive for marijuana from the mother. Okay, but the mother did a service plan, what she had to do, and so he went back. Okay.
Okay.
So when he was removed, he went to a home. There was other foster children in there. It just wasn't working. There was a lot of stress there between the children. So they moved him into another foster home. So that's just it's just a placement. You're getting a place. So when you get that, you get a little more history. You know, a little bit more information of the child, which is kind of a good thing. Kind of gives you a good idea. If they call, you're like, hey, we need to find another home. And so when they called us, because that lady was going to be a short-term placement, so they were looking for another longer-term foster parent, and that's when they called us. And the lady was great. This lady's been foster caring for 30-something years. She's adopted 20 children. You know,
Wow.
her oldest was 52. You know, my age. In fact, she worked, I think, at a hospital in Austin, a health hospital, and she remembers seeing this little boy hitting his head against the wall, just like, you know, and just like, oh my God. She asked the people, can I take this boy home for the weekend? Little rescue.
Yeah.
And they're yeah, sure. So he went home and he never left her house. That was her first adoption. You know,
That's amazing.
so they found us, and then he came to us. Okay. So then he was not legal risk. He was just a foster placement.
Okay. Very cool.
And then parental rights terminated, and now we're in the adoption phase, which still requires more paperwork. You know,
Mhm.
now if you adopt a foster child, now the cost of adopting, okay, once again is going to be, it's not going to cost us anything.
Okay.
I guess there's a mandatory maximum limit of $1,200 the attorney can bill.
Mhm.
So the state will cover that.
Okay.
Okay, the state covers that bill. So other than more paperwork, it's not going to cost us anything. They're going to we're going to get the adoption decree. We're going to get they're going to take care of a birth certificate, which is a little surreal when you get a new birth certificate.
Oh, yeah.
With a new child's name, if you want to change it, however, and then our names as the parents.
Oh, that's amazing.
You know, and so those are the levels of getting towards, you get to adoption. But for people that want to strictly adopt,
Mhm.
it can be a long wait. It can be a long wait based upon what your range is.
Mhm.
You know, how many children you can have, and also when is that child legally adoptable, right? Up
Mhm.
for adoption, you know.
So would you say the majority of the people applying to become foster parents are the ones that, you know, will make the investment, but they understand that the children may go, versus the ones that are just, I want to foster to adopt? Like, that's a smaller percentage.
You know what? I think no, I think the largest is foster.
Foster to adopt?
Definitely foster. We're going to foster. We intend to adopt. You know, some people can foster 20 children and then finally get to a child and go, this is the one. You know, it just depends on the household. You know, it depends.
Yeah.
It just depends on that. You never know. But some people could get a child, also get a placement, and the child is in there only for 4 months, 3 months, 2 weeks. You know, if they find
Is
a
the
home.
child, how big is the child's voice in saying, I don't want to live here, I don't want to be with this parent?
It depends on the child's age. Definitely an older child can have more say in advocating for themselves. Okay. My little man, he told the judge, I don't want to go home. I want to stay here. Right. So he was trying to advocate for himself. And there was a few other things that happened. And he got to speak to the judge with his attorney alone, you know. but but like a 13-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, they're gonna have a voice. They will have a voice. You know,
Okay.
even a 10-year-old could have a voice. It
Okay.
just depends on the child in the case.
Okay. So nothing's permanent. You may be fine with it. The agency may be fine with it. The kid says, nope, I'm out.
Possibly, yeah, because you know, if you're not feeling it, you know, and if the kid's not into it, then if there's not a bond there, then yeah, you're not, you know, it's not a good idea to do it. And I think people that are honest will do that. Now, there are now this is adoptions through CPS, right? There's private adoptions. That's a whole nother ball game. All right. That's like how you see celebrities going to Africa or wherever, and I'm going to adopt a child, right? Well, that process is very expensive. I mean, if people have the money for it, good.
Yeah.
But that's a different process. CPS is not involved with that. I saw in my opinion, a horrible case on Instagram. There's a family documenting their adoption of a child, and then they came out and they said they were looking for a child from another country, special needs. They were looking for a special needs child. They adopted the child, and then they decided at some point, we're going to rehome the child that we adopted. I'm like,
oh, I do remember hearing about that. Yeah. They
yeah,
got a lot of heck for it.
yeah. It's like, what? So there is
Yeah, she was a YouTuber, like blogger, like influencer or whatever, but
yeah. And then they said, well, we can't handle them. You know, we had more needs than we thought. Well, you know, yeah, when you kind of get a child sight unseen, no, they had some visits here or there, but that's difficult. But that's, once again, that's a whole nother topic. If you adopt a child and all of a sudden say, no, I want to rehome them, and people do that.
It's not a puppy. It's a commitment.
Thank you. That's what you cannot do that with your biological child, right? So once again, that's another thing. So so private adoptions, that's not anywhere where we're talking about.
Right.
Chances are that's going to be a long wait, expensive, different.
Yeah.
You know.
So what about let's talk a little bit about the costs, because you talked about the application process doesn't cost, it's very minimal. If you adopt, doesn't cost you anything. The licensing, again,
minimal. There's a lot of assistance. There is a lot of assistance.
So don't think that money is the issue here, because there's ways around it.
There are ways to help you. They are trying to make you successful. Okay.
Yes.
So
but you do have to have a job and employment and income coming in, and they do provide a monthly supplement, correct?
There is a reimbursement, yes. A daily per diem, right? Like a daily per diem. Basic level child is about $27 a day, right? Then I think you can get to a moderate level and then a severe level. There's like 3 levels.
Okay.
You know, now there are some children that need 24-hour like supervision, like the disabilities or whatever, physical, emotional. I mean, they need a lot of work. So there is a higher reimbursement for them. Okay. Also, a part of that, the agency also gets paid by the state daily in order to, you know, for doing what they do, right? So that's how they are also making money, or that's how they make their money, right? So we get that reimbursed, and that's usually the month after. So however many days you have that child in your home, that's what it's going to be, times 31, times, you know, 30, the 27 or whatever X amount is, right?
Do you get more if the child's older?
No.
Even though they eat more.
Exactly, versus a newborn versus a 16-year-old, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
16-year-old boy.
there's a wide range, yes. So there is that. Also, if needed, daycare is also covered. Okay. The state will cover daycare, but only for school-age children. I'm sorry, below school age. And what I found out about that, when we got our first children, we had little man was able to go to daycare. We got twin 4-year-old. The twin at the time, the twins were 4 years old, 30 days younger than little man. So I had triplet 4-year-olds, right? So they were approved for daycare versus my 7-year-old that was denied. I'm like, wait, what? I thought all children are covered. No. School age children are not covered. So we had to kind of work around destiny and trying to, how are we going to take care of her. Luckily, our school district here has a after school program that Monday through Thursday till 6.
Okay.
So after school, they stay on campus and they're there till 6. We pick them up. It's some kind of grant program, right? So on Fridays, I had to take time off from my job, 8 to 5 job, to be back and able to pick her up by about 4. So I was able to do that. And then summer came along and we're like, well, we can't leave her alone. My wife was also working. You have both parents or the single parent have to be working full time. If one parent is stay at home, you're not qualified for the daycare CCMS, the payments, right? Also, teachers, I'm just going to throw this out there, teachers that have summers off, they don't get daycare during the summer. Okay, that's a whole nother ballgame. That's a whole nother thing, but that's usually what happens. Additionally, the daycare, the teachers. Oh, so during the summer, I would take Destiny to work with me. She'd sit in a little cubby underneath the desk and do her thing. So that's how the CCMS works. But it's not just that they'll cover it. I always tell foster parents in the group, well, hey, do you have any advice? I go, yes. Find out what daycares are in your area that are approved by CPS or CCMS through Workforce Commission. Who's in your area, who's close to you, what's convenient, and do they have an opening? Because we can, my town, we only got 3, and at any given time they could not have age ranges open, right? So now what? Now what?
Right.
That's what happened with the baby. They called me on a Friday. Can you do the placement? And when they called us, I told my wife, I go, hey, it's a 2-year-old. What do you think? Let's get some experience on changing diapers, because 4-year-olds are usually already housebroken, right? They talk. A 2-year-old, that's a whole different ballgame, right? But I also told the caseworker, we can't do anything until I found out we got daycare. I cannot tell you yes, and then you bring the child to my home and go, oh, we can't do it because we can't find daycare. No, you need to have that sorted before that kid gets in your home. So that's why I try to tell people, you need to have that already in your head, what you're going to do.
Yeah. And I imagine that's extra challenging if you're a single parent trying to foster and work and I mean,
that's daycares really are out there, but do you have to drive across Austin? Or Houston or wherever, right? So it's just, you've got to find it, or there may not even be a CPS approved daycare in where you live in the country or something, right? Might be 40 miles away. It just depends.
What age are they allowed to be by themselves at home and to watch their siblings?
Well, I guess with foster kids, you probably shouldn't, but I guess some teenagers, that's part of normalcy, I guess, where you can, a child can go out with friends, right? Or go hang
I didn't know
out.
if they specified that.
No, it's not really a specific age.
Okay.
But yeah, you're not going to leave a 5-year-old alone.
Right.
9-year-old. And my wife and I, we've been doing this since, I guess we've had the kids in 2018. I don't think we've gone out alone together, this whole time.
Wow.
We don't trust, we don't want other people to take care of our kids. We don't trust them. Another thing is just, they're our kids and it's our responsibility, and that's just the way we feel. There are other foster families will do respite to take a child for a weekend if you need, or whatever, if you need time, mental health. There are families that only do respite and will take a child, drop them off, and then they take care of the child. They're also approved by CPS and
Okay.
But another thing that also helps is healthcare.
I was about to ask about, do they reimburse for medical care or anything like that?
They don't reimburse, but they have Medicaid, and Medicaid covers everything.
Okay, so all children are covered under Medicaid.
All children under CPS are going to have Medicaid. They're going to be covered. Therapy. I was little man was getting speech therapy. I would have to take him to a private, and that was covered. Every doctor visit, fast med if we need dentist, all of that stuff. Okay. Now, what they did not cover was the braces for my oldest. Okay.
Why not?
That's cosmetic. That's not a health thing, right? It's not a health thing, right?
Okay. So crooked teeth.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
crooked teeth is not a health problem.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it could be. I guess it could be. There's probably instances,
Yeah.
but we did get a discount on the debt on the braces. So
Okay.
I would say we probably paid about 30%, maybe, or maybe
Okay.
about 40% of the cost.
So
full
you
cost.
told the dentist this child's in the foster care system.
Yeah,
Do they
yeah,
offer
they know
discounts?
it's the Medicaid. They know, so
Oh,
they
okay.
were able to like, okay, because they're taking the insurance. That's our normal
Okay.
dentist. So they gave us we got a discount. There was a discount.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah.
And then another thing on top of that, the CPS, the daycare.
The
Oh, anyway,
Medicare,
I guess I already
medical
forgot.
care.
Medical
That's
care.
okay.
It's all like I said, it's all covered.
So let's talk a little bit about the pros and cons of being a foster parent.
Okay. Pros. I mean, you have to want to do this. You're going to be invested 100%, right?
Yeah.
It's I won't forget the first. Forgive me.
No, it's okay.
I won't forget the first Christmas we had. We had the kids. There were 3 4-year-olds and a 7-year-old, and we were so pumped for Christmas. We're so pumped, like, oh my God, can't wait, kids.
Yeah.
And so Christmas morning came along, and I am up like by 6. Like I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready for kids to be running down the stairs, right? I'm ready. And didn't happen. I was like still waiting. Finally, about 7:15, I hear pitter patter of feet. I'm like, ooh, and then I'm like waiting for some screams. No, nothing. The bedroom door opened and little man came in and laid next to me. And I was like, okay, it's okay. It's all right, And then at some point he was like, Daddy, because that's what he would call me. And the foster children should call you whatever is comfortable for them.
Okay.
Don't make them call you something. Don't make them call you mom or dad or whatever. Just say
Right.
Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, whatever, that'll work.
Yeah.
And then they can change. Anyway, so he was like, Daddy, I go, what's up? He's like, why are there bikes in the living room? I said, what? There's bikes in the living room. Yeah, there's presents and stuff. I'm like, well, I'm like, Santa Claus came. Ah, let's go. And he's like, go get the other kids. So they ran up and got him like, So, but the thing was, because he would have been 3, so the previous Christmas, so maybe he didn't have that, right? Maybe he didn't experience that. He didn't know. Maybe he never, I don't know. So it was just really moving that he was like, hey, so he bypassed all the toys, everything.
Yeah.
To come and ask, like, hey, what is this? So that was great. That was such a great feeling.
Yeah.
Watching the kids grow, man, it just changes your outlook on life being a parent. You get into mama bear and papa bear mode, and what can we do? And then, maybe you start doing stuff you wouldn't have thought about doing, like, we got to go to Chuck E. Cheese every week, or, oh, let's go to a museum. Oh, let's go to the pool. Let's, just random things, just because you got to get stuff for the kids to do.
Yeah. I mean, you're making a tangible difference in another person's life.
Exactly.
You can see the differences that you are making on the daily.
Okay. Is your channel safe for work or not?
Yeah.
Because, okay. Well, I was going to say some stuff that's not safe for work. So I'll abbreviate it. So when the first week we got the boy, we talked about trauma, little man. We took him to a carnival, and we got him this little neon sword, that lights up, LEDs. And we had told him, okay, hey, it's like 10 o'clock. We got to go to bed. Time for you to go to bed. I don't want to go to bed. You got to go to bed. I don't want to go to bed. So he grabbed the sword and he threw it against the wall. It broke. Mm-hmm. So I got it. I started fixing it, and trying to fix it, and it broke some more. He's tiny. He just barely turned 4. And he looked at me and he said, F you, mother effer. You broke my sword. You mother effer. And he's like, and he was using the words the way that they would have been used by an adult. Obviously, where did he learn that from? Where did he learn that from? Right? Yeah. So he came from that chaotic home. So that was, I gasped I about had a heart attack. And I asked my wife, I go, did you hear that? She's like, oh my God, and he was I ain't gonna lie. At some point, about a week later, when I had him, when I was watching him by myself, I was like, I don't think we can do this. This child is wild. He's throwing things, he's peeing on himself because he's mad. He would just pee himself. He
Could
would,
also be a trauma response.
yeah, exactly. Right. So he was like, I was like, I don't think we can do this. I literally thought about calling the caseworker. I think we made a mistake. And luckily, we worked through it, and he changed because he's coming from a chaotic home. You can't control where they come from, or you can't control where they go. You control the time you have them. You give them all the love and structure and everything in that time. So so watching his growth was amazing.
You're so lucky that he was only 3 or 4. Like, you really got him early on in life where, long-term damage wouldn't persist.
Yes. Well, and some people that want to adopt or foster children, I only want little children because they don't have trauma, or teenagers are too much trouble. We have not experienced a teenage foster care. Okay. I have not done that. I wouldn't mind him doing that. It's just didn't happen in our cards. But one thing I think, if you foster a teenage child, is like, or go to adopt, you're not trying to replace their parents. Okay. You are not. I am not going to give you a second childhood. You can't put that on them.
Right.
All you can do is give them stability and structure and a loving environment. And sometimes, many times, that's all they need. It's great. They blossom, and and it works. And sometimes some kids just have so much trauma that it's very difficult for these families. And you can even adopt a child that you've had for 10 years, and just because they start to wonder about the biologicals.
Yeah. Which is normal.
And so teenagers are a different ballgame. Now, one of the benefits of adopting a teenager, not because they age out at 18. If you start fostering or adopt a 16-year-old child, or start to foster, you can still get the reimbursements in Medicaid until, I believe, they're 21. Okay, so they kind of still stay under CPS care or the assistance until then.
Yeah.
So it really depends. Also, an 18-year-old child can decide to continue in foster care on their own. Okay, but that has to be done prior to 18. So the pros, like I said, it's you start getting a family, you're a family unit. That's great. Some of the cons are, yes, trauma. There are some traumas sometimes that you have to deal with, physical, emotional. There's some of these kids are working through a lot of stuff. It's hard. They might be on several psychotropic medications, and it can be very hard. Also, physical disabilities. Some children that are nonverbal. I mean, it's hard. I wouldn't say necessarily it's a con, but I guess some people consider paperwork a con. I have to do monthly logs.
You have to be patient with the process.
Yes, absolutely. Have to be patient. What I have to do on my documentation is not very hard. I do a little write-up every month as to this. It's formatted. I just fill in the blanks. We have to keep a medication log of any medication the child is given at the time, and the name of the we got all the description of the medications, of when it was prescribed. And we got to show that we're taking them out, we're doing stuff, but that's part of the write-up. And then the trainings, sometimes the trainings, even then, they're not that long or hard. So that could be a con. We're kind of already getting tired of being inspected, having the caseworkers come over. We're like, okay, we're about to adopt. We're about to be done with this. But once again, that's not necessarily a con. Once again, we have a good relationship with our caseworkers. I feel the system works. I think I've been very happy with every part of the process with all the children. If I had closed the refrigerator door, sorry, I got children that are feeding themselves.
I can hear them in the background.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I am on a call. Please be quiet. I told you that, right? Yes, all 3 of them. I already lost my train of thought where I was going with that.
We were just talking about the cons.
Yeah, the cons, so the paperwork, but
and I would also think having to make the investment, knowing that you may have to let them go in a certain amount of time. And it takes a very strong person, a very special person to process and deal with that up front, knowing that that's a possible outcome.
I was gutted when little man went home.
I remember that.
Oh, it was hard.
Yeah.
However, it helped that we had such a good relationship, but that's why you do it. The family won. You know, the family, it was a good thing. It was a good thing, you know.
Yep.
But you know, still emotionally invested, you know.
Yes.
But
you had the experience.
Yes.
I mean, which is
now
invaluable.
there are some families that maybe they're not doing what they're supposed to do to be in compliant with their license. So the agency gets on them, you know, or they don't like the caseworker or some, you know, but then again, there might be some bad casework, or I shouldn't say, some caseworkers and the foster parents and their dynamics just are not clicking.
It's challenging. Yeah.
You know, it just depends. So when I see a foster parent complaining about the process, I always take it with a little grain of salt. I don't always think it's the agency. I don't always think it's a CPS worker. I also think it's that parent. You know, one of the biggest complaints is like, I'm not getting a placement. I'm not getting a placement. Why not? You know, well, when you dig into it, you find out they only want a child from 0 to 1, right? From 0 to 1, blonde, girl, Caucasian, or whatever, right? I mean, it's not Amazon Prime, right? It's not for real. I think some of them really think it's that. Well, how fast if I get approved, how fast can I adopt a child? Like, whoa, no, hey, slow down, you know? That is one of the things I've seen.
You got to have realistic expectations about the whole process and be willing to compromise.
You have to be flexible. You have to roll with the punches, you know, and you know, like, you know, we're professionals, Lisa. We have people in our professions that you're like, wow, how did they do this? I can't believe they're able to do this job, or barely, right? Not everyone is cut out to do it, right? But you have to be people have to be realistic with that. You know?
Yeah.
And so at some point you're going to have to kind of decide, you know, maybe this wasn't for us. Like I said, I had 2 weeks in, I'm thinking that, right? 2 weeks in, I'm already like, this is not a good idea.
You probably go through a period of shock because it's such a change, you know? And once those little aftershocks come through and you're like, okay, you can kind of put it in perspective.
Yeah. So, you know, once we got little man, we had him for 8 weeks. Oh my God. So I kept getting calls for placements or they would send me legal risk emails. So that's where that's where CPS is looking for a home. So I would get hit with these emails like every day. We got this child that's a legal risk placement. I think you'd like him. What do you think? You know, I remember there's a little 9-month-old black boy in Houston, needed a home. And this is a little bit of the background of why the child was removed. You know, do you want to submit a home study? And I'm like, well, yeah, well, hey, Rosanna, what do you think? Yeah, okay, let's do it.
Talk to your partner first.
Exactly. So then the next day, and then before I knew it, I had like 7 home studies out there. And they're not going to call you back and tell you, oh, sorry, no, they don't have time to do it. They don't have time for that, right?
Yeah.
So, but that became overwhelming for me, you know? So I said, you know what? We're just going to focus on the little boy we have, okay? We're just going to focus on him and get our feet wet here on the process. So we did it for about 8 weeks before we ended up, he came in July, and we got the sibling group in October, July, August, September. Okay, 3 months is when we got the other. So when we got, after all was that, we adopted 3, the other boy went home, and we got the 5th child, all right? The little guy right now. It was like, oh yeah, we know what's going on. Yeah, no problem. We got it. I know what I got to do. You know, you get it all done. Paperwork. You know, you're doing it.
You're a veteran now.
Exactly. Even with the adoption thing, it's funny because little tidbit of information is when I submitted my information to the attorney's like, hey, you put your name here, but we need to know what your middle name is. Your middle name just says G. I said, well, yeah, because that is my middle name. They're like, what? I go, remember we went through this last adoption, you know? I got a birth certificate that it just says G. That's my parents' name, Ismael G. Gonzalez. That's what it is. They say, oh yeah, that's right. So this kind of process, it's a lot smoother. I think it's a lot easier, but so you kind of already know what to expect. You know, a lot of the difficulty, one of the cons, I guess, is depending on if you have multiple children, They have they got all the doctor visits they have to go to, the dentist visits, you know, therapies, visitation with the parents. That's another thing. Sorry, I forgot about. They're going to have a visitation with the parents depending on what the judge orders, right?
Okay.
So I was taking little man into Austin to visit the mother for 2 hours, and then a 30-minute break to take him to another location to have a 2-hour visit with the father.
Oh, wow.
Every Sunday for a year and a half. Not to mention Saturday was speech therapy for an hour. So that was it. We had to like work the rest of our life, you know, recreate, whatever we do with kids was around that schedule, you know? And so, yeah, that took a lot of time.
That's very time consuming. Yeah.
There are sometimes some people will have maybe a 2-hour ride to take a child to a visit, you know.
Wow.
CPS will transport the little baby we have here. CPS was transporting him from one town to the other, pick him up from daycare, take him over there, bring him back.
That's a question. So it's the foster parents' responsibility to take them to the parents, or do you meet them halfway, or do the parents come to you, or how is that decided upon?
It depends. It all depends.
Yeah.
So with our first boy, the visitation, we were nervous. We're like, you don't want to, you're like, what about these parents? You know, I don't want to meet them. What do they meet us? What do they find out where we're living? You know, we were doing, they had supervised visitation. So there's a contracted worker that'll be there supervising a visit, right? And so we would take little man there, and then I would see the mom in the lobby, like, hey, here's your child, here you go have fun, go. You got 2 hours, I'm gonna go eat lunch, I'm gonna go kill time, whatever. I'd come back and I'd take the child and you know, take them and we'd go on, right? Whereas then we're taking, like I said, to the other visit. So the visitations, I guess if I would have said, luckily it was Sunday, we could do it, right? But I also told them we can't do it during the week, right? I just couldn't do it. I've heard some families, sometimes we'll get a child, maybe a legal risk placement from Dallas, where they live in Austin, where they still have visits, right? So you kind of have to take the child up there, right?
Yeah.
Or that's another thing to ask when you call for a placement, what's visitation? You know, things like that. But it just depends on the department, that county, that office, if they have the manpower, the bandwidth to do visitation.
Yeah.
They should. I believe they have to do it. Okay. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, you know, things happen and it doesn't. So that usually will fall onto the parent to do it. Now, there are some parents who take out their anger of the child being removed onto the foster parents.
People need to be aware of that.
You are trying to steal my child. You are taking my child. You know,
they're projecting the blame.
Yes, or you know, it's a hard, regardless of why the child was moved, it's still their child, right? And so sometimes the only thing they can control is a haircut. Is a haircut of the child.
Wow.
Do not cut my child's hair. They would tell the caseworker, and the caseworker tell the foster, don't cut their hair. When my little boy came in, he had like, his hair was like this. Yeah. You know, and we actually previously we just cut their hair. We didn't think to ask. I didn't know it was a big deal, but I wanted to kind of cover it, and so we asked the caseworker, asked the parents. The parents said, "Okay, no problem, cut it." Okay, so we did it. You know, but once again, there are some parents are upset during a visit. I don't like the way my child is dressed. I don't like what they're wearing, or they're not wearing the clothes I have, or whatever, right? So
is it a way to keep the parents maybe still tied into the process?
Oh, absolutely. It's their child. I mean, they still got, and it's for the child too. It doesn't matter. Even if a child has been abused by the parent, it's all they know. They still want to see their parent. They're going to cry for them. They're going to, you know, it's still their parent, right? So they would have visits. I would have to say that my little man, when he went to visits, he didn't cry when he left. He wasn't exceptionally like, oh, I get to see my parent today, you know, but he was happy. He'd go there, spend time, get some stuff, and come home and okay, Daddy, let's go home. You know, you know, it just depends. It depends on, every situation is different. So that can be hard. That can also be hard. You can have a good relationship with the adoptive parent. Sometimes you don't even see them. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you take them in one door and then somebody walks them in or whatever. You know, sometimes there's a safety issue and they do that,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. So man, I forgot about visits. That's an important
That's a
thing.
big
I left
one.
that up.
That's a
It
big
is.
one.
It is.
And a good one to make sure
Yes.
people note in their notes about this. So I have one last question for
Sure.
you, and that's advice or tips to anybody thinking to foster or adopt through the foster care system.
First of all, everything I've talked about is Texas only.
Yeah, that's true.
Texas
So
only.
you got to check your state eligibility requirements, application process, everything's different.
They're essentially the same thing, not necessarily all the same thing. Now, there is another benefit I did not mention yet, and that is any child that has been in CPS care one day is eligible for the state to cover their tuition and fees to any state college in Texas.
For the whole 4 years?
It's like a scholarship. They're going to cover it. They're going to cover
amazing.
Tuition and fees. So you got to come up with
Housing.
room and board, right? There are a couple of schools, I believe Texas A&M Kingsville and Texas A&M Corpus Christi have a supervised, oh Jesus, I already, SIL, supervised independent living, where they will cover like this child who is still, they will give them room and board. They'll give them room and board because they're still kind of under CPS care. But you know, that's helpful. And I believe you can even use that, those funds for maybe for trade school, okay, or vocational. I'm not, I think those would have to definitely be approved, may not happen. I know, I've seen some people that say it happens. So that's a big deal there. But advice for this, man, you know, we're no different. We're not special. We're not special. We're lucky. We're lucky to get these children, for real, you know. Because I would tell my wife, because we had went to New Orleans before, after we got a license, so we were knowing we could get a call any day. You know, I told my wife, I go, you know what? Or even in the process, there's children out there right now that their path, fate is going to bring them into our home. Okay, we're going to meet destiny, whatever they call it, serendipity, all those are right here. This is where we're going to meet. You know, and it's just worked out. This is my experience. This is where we're at. But you know, anyone can do this, and that's why I tell people on social media. You see me post all the time.
Yep.
And even anybody watching this thing, I don't know if my contact information, they can reach out to you to find me. I will answer whatever question anybody wants at any time. Maybe something I didn't talk about, or to expand on something I did or mentioned. You know, I will do that. You know, so I will help, right? Now, I also don't say just, no, you got to only go to my agency. No. Yeah. There's agencies out there. Now, I do see some stuff sometimes where same-sex couples and adoptions, and there's some stuff in the media. You know, I think there was a SCOTUS ruling about Christian agencies, right? Not every agency is one of those. That is a small number. In fact, in this foster group, I don't think I've ever seen anyone post anything about an agency saying, no, we're not going to take you. You know, now granted, they may not have passed other things, right? But not based upon any kind of a lifestyle, right? In fact, my agency is owned by James Mercer and Dr. Fulton, their husbands. We went to their daughter's bat mitzvah. They've adopted 3 children, you know? And so the story with him is, I believe he tried to adopt a child, and I believe he was told no, because he was Jewish. They were Jewish. And so he's like, well,
what year was this?
This is, I don't know, 15 years ago, something like that. It was a previous. Yeah, there was, well, I think once again, to the particular agency they went to, that agency.
Oh, okay.
That one agency, not the state of Texas. That has nothing to do with the state of Texas. That's just that agency.
It was a private agency.
Yeah. And so he's like, well, I'm going to start up my own agency. And so that's where he's at, you know. And now he's all over the state, you know, and Oklahoma. He's also in Oklahoma. Okay. So, you know, when you want to do this, anybody can do it. You just have to, like, yes, you can. Just if you have a home, you know, if you want to help a child, you know, anybody can do it. There was a story I posted, maybe you've heard about the starfish. Father and son are walking on the beach, and there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of starfishes on the beach. And the little boy's picking up one, throwing it up, and he's picking up another one. He's like, well, what are you doing? You're not going to do anything. Look at all these starfish, and the son says, well, no. I mean, it'll make a difference to this one.
Exactly.
To this one, So, when I see people on social media, I don't know. I think social media messed up a lot of things, but people out of outrage and, I want to, people should change the world or do something like that. I always, you see it, I post, I go, their lives matter. Kids' lives matter. If you want to do something, if you really want to advocate for change or do something positive, why not just do this? Help a child.
Start in your home. Don't think so globally. It's overwhelmingly. Start with yourself in your home.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the one thing I try to tell people. And so I tell them that, but like I said, I have several people that reach out to me, and it doesn't matter about the domination, the religious aspects. Now, one of the things about same-sex marriage or same-sex couples, is if you get to the adoption part, if you're not married, only one person is going to be on the birth certificate. Now later, that individual can adopt the child, right? That's a different process, but that's that. So so there have been some people that are not also husband and wife, or boyfriend and girlfriend. Well, we want to adopt a child. Well, we want our names to be on there. Well, you got to get married. So either one of you gets it or you both get it, and this is what you have to do. So I've heard of some instances where, why is the TV on? Turn it off. I'm sorry. I got headphones on. See, even my 7-year-olds. Oh my God. Anyway, were some instances where a family got married by the judge. I was going to do the adoption. Right, like right before, like, okay, let's get you married. You're married, okay, now let's go to the adoption, right? So, the twins, they're always fighting. I don't get it, right? So in those instances, still doing it. Anyway, so there's opportunities out there for people, anybody to do it. Okay, so if people research a little bit, it can be done. It's hard. It can be hard for single people, but it's very doable. Got to be organized, right? For a family, once again. But it's not special, and I think there's a lot of support system out there, right? Now, the reimbursement we get, that's not income, okay? That's not taxable income. That's a reimbursement. You don't claim that. You don't claim that. If you want to claim a child on your taxes, they have to be in your home 6 months, 1 day. Then you can claim that child. Okay. Sometimes some parents still claim their child even though they don't have them, and then now you're getting to have to deal with IRS back and forth to get that credit, right? Yeah. So, like you said, do the change at home. I mean, I know people want to advocate, and there's a lot of outrage and stuff, and they, instead of wearing a hat or wearing a color or making signs or just posting something on social media,
all talk and no walk.
Exactly. This is what something you can do, and so anybody, if I can do it, anybody can do it. People just have to just decide. And then, but a lot of people have a lot of questions. They don't know. Yep. So hopefully this will get out there and get some information for people. Once again, Texas only. There are a lot of children that do need to be adopted. There's a website called TAR, Texas Adoption Resource Exchange, I think. It is for children that are only up for adoption through the state of Texas. Okay. Yeah. You still need a home study for that. You still need to have an agency. They're not going to talk to you unless you submit that information. So, but it's heart-wrenching to see these children there and up for adoption, and kids of all the whole gambit of age, physical abilities, races, sibling groups, single children. And then what's sad is I'll see some of them age out. There'll be some teenagers, and then I've been there long enough and they just disappear. They're 17, then they're gone.
Yeah. It's a shame.
It is. But like I said, if anybody ever wants to get a hold of me, contact Lisa.
I'll get the face. You said you're in a Facebook group for foster parents.
Yes. That's
and people that aren't foster parents can join it?
Texas Texas Foster and Adoption group.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll put the link down in the description box. So people
that's a good one because people can ask all kinds of questions about the process and everything, and there's a lot of feedback in there.
Yeah.
And real life stories,
Well, I'm going to disagree with you on one thing, I think you are special. I really do, because if you weren't a special person to raise another person's child, we'd have more of it, and we wouldn't have this problem, right? So I think you are special, and I think you're pretty awesome.
Well, my wife too. My wife
and your wife, yes,
she's the captain of this ship. Okay,
absolutely.
I'm just the face.
50%,
I'm just the face.
Yeah, 50%. Yeah, definitely.
It is.
Your wife is also
she's phenomenal. She is so organized in what she does and what she does with the children and everything, and
impressive.
It's great. One last thing, I forgot another benefit. I'm sorry. When you adopt a child, sorry, I'm going to finish this up. So when you adopt a child, if they could be eligible for adoption assistance, okay? I totally forgot. So yeah, what about assisting for adoption, right? Well, a child has to be considered special needs. And in order to be considered special needs, they need to be a sibling group, right? Yep. A sibling group considers that special needs. If you adopt a minority child, 2 years old or older, or a Caucasian child, even though I guess Hispanics are Caucasian, but I guess a white kid, right? They have to be 6 years or older. So in order to get the adoption assistance, which is Medicaid till they're 18, also, there is an adoption assistance stipend. Basic level is $400 a month until that child turns 18. Okay, that's also kind of like, hey, thank you for adopting this child. Here's some help to continue to make this success. So not only do you have some of the benefits during the foster caring, but also adoption, right? But people that only want babies, I want a 1-year-old. You're not going to adopt a newborn. Once again, it's the whole process, right? They're not going to qualify for that. However, sometimes, and then you adopt a child, and then, after you've adopted them, they've got issues. You can sometimes go back and reapply and ask for hey, we need this because of special needs. Also, a doctor can write a note, can also say, hey, this child's going to have lifelong disability or whatever, and they will be eligible for that adoption assistance and the Medicaid, and paying for the attorney for the adoption. Sorry. So if they don't qualify for that, then you got to pay the adoption, right?
Okay.
So once again, so there's also assistance if the child qualifies. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get more minority children and sibling groups to get adopted. One last thing, if you adopt a child and then they have a sibling, mother has another baby, whatever, that child gets removed, gets into your care, and you end up adopting them, that child will qualify for the adoption assistance because they are joining a sibling.
Okay.
If the other child did not have it, they're not going to get it.
Okay.
So it depends. So I forgot, yes, there is assistance for people to adopt also. So really, there's a lot of stuff. Medical care, there's a little financial help, there's a lot of stuff out there. And plus, the children are Medicaid. If you got foster kids, then because they got Medicaid, you get $5.99 charge on Amazon Prime. You get a discount. You get a discount on Amazon Prime. That helps.
Yes, definitely. This talk today has been so helpful because it's not only been inspirational, it's been informational. And I didn't want to talk to an expert. I wanted to talk to a person that's in the trenches, somebody that's gone through the process, that is doing it, not somebody that just knows about it. So I'm so glad you came on my channel today and shared with us.
Well, I hope I gave some good information and didn't babble too much. I tend to do that. But I was a little nervous, Lisa. I'm like, oh my God, Lisa's going to ask me to do this. And she has some some other fancy people on her page, oh, you want me? Okay, fine. So I was nervous. I'm going to lie. I was nervous, but I appreciate it, Lisa. I miss you.
I miss you too.
It's great to see you.
You too.
I mean, you're one of my older friends from back in the day, so I'm really glad I could help.
5 years ago.
Really, It's been great. So I really hope if anybody, like I said, anybody has any questions, please reach out. If
Yes.
you want clarifications, any other question you had about the process or whatever, please reach out to me and I'll let you know.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you again, Skip, for being on my channel. And if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to share it with whoever might be interested in this topic. And please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you'll be alerted when the next video drops. Thanks, Skip.
Thanks, Lisa. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.